stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. Oh, Lord. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. Yeah, that doesn't look bad. That looks a little better, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. I want to check something real quick on this mic. And I'm going to reach down here. Okay. Really? For real? Check one, check. Check, check, check. Okay, this is bridged off of the main, right? This monitor? Yeah, I think so. Okay, cool. Cool.
I do have, I can address the monitors.
Because I hit the switch. My fault. Test, test, test. Yeah. There we go. Can you talk in that mic for a second? What number, what color am I up here, my vocal?
You?
Yeah.
Look down at the tape. I've muted everything but your vocal and your guitar.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I guess I need to do that anyway. Your vocal says mic.
All right.
Oh, it has an M, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, so the vocal is actually right then. Cool.
My issue is sometimes on Wednesday when the choir comes in here to rehearse without me here, they think their mics aren't working, and so they mess around with everything.
Yeah.
And so now our colors don't even line up.
Yeah. All right. Let me see what we can do. Can you go talk in my mic for a sec?
Yeah.
Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Okay. Check. Welcome. Check, check, check. Check, check. Welcome to Owens Chapel. Check, 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 check. All right. So it really is. You hear that monitor, how boxy it sounds?
It sounds good to me, but I don't have an ear for that kind of thing. What does boxy mean when it comes to sound?
Sounds like you're in a box.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like you're talking in a box like that.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Check, check, check. Yeah, okay. When you point it out, I notice it.
But it doesn't, I don't think it sounds that way in the house, though.
No, it really don't. That's what's weird. Let's do a little mid scoop.
Knitted blankets.
Man, it is hot up here.
It is.
Goodness gracious.
I got a fan up there. The problem is that fan is really loud.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't push much air. So, let's get a better fan.
Okay. Check 1, 2, check. You stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. Oh, God, that's so much better.
That sounds great out here.
Cool. Yeah, and I actually took some of that low end out of the monitor. So, yeah.
Do me a favor. When I get up there, check your mic on maybe. I'm afraid I may have muted your mic and your keyboard. I'm trying to mute everything. Okay.
You stay the same through the ages.
Okay. I guess not.
Your love never changes. Check 1.
Okay. Yeah, you're good. Okay. Yeah, I didn't mute him, I guess.
How lovely your dwelling place.
I'm gonna go out here and sit there and see.
Almighty. There is one day in your court, there is one day in your house, there is one day in your court, thousands elsewhere. There is one day in your court, there is one day in your house, there is one day in your court, thousands elsewhere. Thousands elsewhere. I'm set free. Oh, I am set free. Oh, it is for freedom that I am set free. I am accepted. My power, my every state is washed away. I am forgiven. I am free. Embrace that foot of wrong. For your love and mercy. Lavished on us like every charm. Oh my goodness, praise the Lord. Yeah.
So like to watch all y'all. That was like miles away from y'all.
No, y'all back there. No, touch. Keep your hands to yourself. I'm watching. I'm gonna sit there if I have to. When you just turn around, give you one of these parrot moves. You just turn around and you just go. Hey, can I try like the shoe shot on your head?
Please do.
Because I really want
That'd
to
be
try.
hilarious.
But I want to get like the
I want to see that too.
We know a ton of youth games. Ball kids were great for a lot of those games.
Oh yeah, the shaving cream and
Come in here with a bald head, man. It's a target. All right, how's everybody doing? You know what? You all get 100 points just to start with. You know why? Y'all came in and you sat in the center of the church. Not at all. It may not be a big deal to you guys, but on Sunday mornings, our whole congregation sits over here. And if you visit, you know because the visitors sit over here. It flips me out every time. You guys came in and sat in the center of the church. It sounds like a small thing. Man, that's a big deal for me. Thank you. All right. I think I introduced myself to most of you downstairs, but if I didn't, or if you forgot, my name is Pastor Joey. Yes, believe it or not, I am the senior pastor of this church, and I promise you I'm a lot older than you may think I am. So, she don't like that because she's actually older than I am. All right. We're going to have a fun time here tonight. It's not going to be crazily structured. Excuse me. I've been working a lot, tired, got a lot of caffeine going in me. So sometimes my brain gets going faster than my lips to keep up with. So that's very good on that. We're just going to have some worship and then a quick word for you. Not looking to keep you alone tonight. This kind of thing, we're wanting to start something specifically geared to the younger generation. We call it our youth nights, but what I've explained to people is that's not really a number. You can be youthy in mind. Ideally, what we're talking about is we want the music and the words to try to reach the younger generation kind of right where they're at. For so many times, I've gone to churches where the younger generation are told to just kind of hang out while the older generation has church. Then just wait. You're not really old enough to be a part of what we're doing. They may not say that, but it's the way they act. It's the message they give with the type of songs they sing, with the way they do church. And so that's something I'm really big about. As I get into my message tonight, I'll share a little more about my story. But just I want to thank you all for being here, and I hope you tell your friends about it, and you decide to come back. We want to be here to help you guys as much as possible. Again, I'll tell you some more about that when I get into my message. If you guys would all stand, we've got a great guy here, Mr. Kyle Bolton. He leads worship for a great church in Jasper called Worship Life. If you're in that area, I would highly recommend that church. Great group of leaders, great pastors, and just a great church all the way around. He's been willing to help us some on Saturday nights to set the atmosphere. Let's go ahead and open up with a word of prayer. Father, we come here, God, putting aside all the things, Father, that seek to distract us. God, we all come into this place, Father God, experiencing a different past, Father. But we come here to encounter your Holy Spirit, God, to have an encounter with the living God. And as we do that, we come in one mind, in one accord, Father, seeking to honor you. Whatever it is that we have in our past, whatever it is that is trying to get a hold of our heart, God, we lay it down now at your feet, Father God. And God, don't let us have to be kind of drug into your presence, Father God. Oftentimes there has to be a song or two sang before we kind of feel like praising you. But God, help us to remember that you sent your only Son to die for us. We shouldn't have to be pent up to be able to praise you. Your word tells us to enter into your gates with thanksgiving and your courts with praise. Help us to do that tonight, Father God. And I am confident that if we do that, your presence shows up in this place, and you will move mountains in our life, Father God, and you will restore our soul, God. We worship you and we honor you all that we do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Come on, let's go ahead and just get ready to enter in right now. If you want to, go ahead and lift your hands. And we're not here to watch me sing a couple of songs. We're here to worship the Lord. So just come on in and get comfortable and worship however you worship. This is a song called Your Love Never Fails. Sing nothing. Nothing can separate. Even if I ran away, your love never fails. I know I still make mistakes, but you have mercies for me every day. Your love never fails. 'Cause you stay the same. You stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. The way you pain in the night, the joy comes in the morning. When you let the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me, and your love never fails. Your love never fails. The wind is strong. The wind is strong and the water's deep. I'm not alone on these open seas. Your love never fails. And the chasm is far too wide. When the chasm is far too wide, I never thought I'd reach the other side. Your love never fails. 'Cause you stay the same. You stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. The lady came in the night, the joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me, and your love never fails. And your love never fails. So you make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You say the same to the ages. Your love never changes. When maybe in the night, the joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid. Because I know that you love me, and your love never fails. And your love never fails. And your love never fails. Cause even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, your perfect love is casting out fear. And even though I'm caught in the middle of the storms of this life, I won't turn back. I know you are near. I will believe. For my God is with me. And if my God is with me, whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? Listen, oh no, you don't go through the calm and through the storm. Oh no, you never let go. Every high, every low, you never let go. Never let go of me. Cause even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, your perfect love is casting out fear. I'm just gonna keep playing. Cause even though I'm caught in the middle of the storms of this life, I won't turn back. I know you when I'm in. If you don't want to sing it out, I will be lonely. For my God is with me. And if my God is with me, whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? Come on, I'm gonna sing it out. Sing it. Oh no, you never let go through the calm. Come on, put your hands together. Storm, oh no, you never let go. Every high, every low, oh no, you never let go, Lord. Never let go of me. Sing that chorus again. Oh no. And we're singing, oh, you never let go through the calm and through the storm. Oh, no, you never let go. Every high, every low. Oh, no, you never let go, Lord. Never let go of me. Figure it out. My chord came on the Lord, but it's okay because we're still worshiping the Lord, right? That's right. Kick this out of the way so we'll do it again. Cause I can see a light that is coming for the heart that moves on. There will be an end to these troubles, but until that day comes, still I will praise you. Still I will praise you. I I can see, cause I can see a light that is coming for a heart that moves on. There will be an end to the struggles, but till that day comes, still I will praise you, still I will praise you. Oh no. Oh, singing, oh no, you never let go, through the fire, through the storm, oh no, you never let go, every high, every low, oh no, you never let go, never let go of me, never let go of me. Never let go of me. My foes are many, they rise against me, but I will hold my ground. I will not fear the war, I will not fear the storm. My help is on the way, my help is on the way. Oh my God, you will not delay, my refuge and strength always. I will not fear, His promise is true, my God will come through always, always. Troubles surround me, chaos abounding, but my soul rests in you. And I will not fear the war, I will not fear the storm. My help is on the way, my help is on the way. Oh my God, you will not delay, my refuge and strength always. And I will not fear, your promise is true, my God will come through always, always. Always. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. I lift my eyes up, my help comes from the Lord. Yes, oh my God, you will not delay, my refuge and strength always. And I will not fear, His promise is true, My God will come through always. Oh my God. Oh my God. To my refuge and strength always. Yes, I will not fear. His promise is true. My God will come through always, always.
Man, do you believe that God will always come through? I want to take a moment. If you'll just keep playing a little bit. How many in here are Christians? Yes, hold on a minute now. Who's explaining Christianity to y'all? This is not the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts. Y'all know what y'all signed up for? How many of you are Christian? If you hesitate, you're in trouble. How many of you are Christian? If you follow Christ? All right, put the other hand up. No, keep that one up now. Don't you mess with me. Keep that other one up. You serve a God that created everything, sent His Son to die for you so that you don't have to go to hell. Look, we get happy when, I guess most of you like Alabama. If Alabama's sports team, you understand. I'm a Georgia fan. Alabama's on my nerves right now. Alabama scores a touchdown, y'all get excited about that. You can't serve a God that sent His Son to die for you. You can't worship Him. Raise your hands and get a little bit of excitement. We're going to spend just a minute or two just worshiping God with Him. What do you say to God during this time? Jesus. If you ain't got nothing else to say the name of Jesus. Just tell Him how good He is. God, you never let me down. God, we honor you with this place, God. You are our refuge, Father. You are our
There's no one like you. There's no one like you, Lord. There's no one like you in all the earth. There's no one like you. There's no one like you, Lord. There's no one like you in all the earth. All the earth.
See, we cheapen God too much. There's no one like Him. God is not just another individual that we have lifted up on some pedestal, and you get to come to church because it's a social club and you get to meet your friends. We're coming here to learn about and to encounter the presence of a living God. I've studied a lot of different religions. That's what sets Christianity apart. We don't serve some statue or some dead God that has some kind of moral standard for us to try to meet. We serve a God that says He created the world, but not only did He create it, He has a standard that we should live by because He created it. He knows. He said, look, I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to come right here beside you and help you do it. We serve a God that is alive and well and is willing to come beside us and have a relationship with us. We got to get more into that. We got to understand more about who God is in our lives. And when you get an understanding of that, you won't have to be coached into praise. You'll have to be, all right, hey, you need to calm down a little bit. You need to slow some of that down a little bit. Once you get an understanding of who God really is in your life. Father, we come to you tonight, God. I felt your presence here tonight already, God. Lord, I pray, Lord, that you would continue to move in this place, Lord. That you would speak through me, Lord. Help me to articulate the word that you've given to me, Father. I always feel inadequate to represent you, the one who has created everything. But Father, I pray, Lord, that your Spirit would flow through me, Lord, in a way, Lord, that they would remember the word that you have, Father God. Help them to look past all my human faults, Father God, and to find you, Father. You're the one we're here tonight to seek, God, to encounter, to experience, to be in your presence, Father. Open their hearts so that they're receptive to you, Father. God, right now I bind anything that comes in this room to try to distract them, Father. God, that you would put a hedge of protection, let your Holy Spirit flow in this place in such a way, Lord, that you would guard their minds and their hearts, Father God, so that we not be distracted, that we would be focused on what you have to say, Lord. We honor you in this. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. You may see, I got a problem. I enjoy worshiping God too much. It's hard for me to worship God and work through the slides at the same time. So I get up there. I get messed. I'm going to work on that a little bit. I'm just going to, unless one of y'all want to work the slides with me this Saturday. Let's figure that further out. Now, let's see, what's that? 7:13 for doing. I intentionally didn't want to have these last two awful long. Because one of the things I find, you know, most humans, not most humans, really, well, the majority of human adults, anyhow, our attention span is about 20 minutes. Anything more than 20 minutes, and about 20 minutes, and about 3 topics. If you get thrown more than 3 topics at you, you're going to forget most of them. You're going to remember about 3 of them. And if somebody speaks to you longer than about 20 to 30 minutes, you're either going to forget the first part of what they said, or you're going to forget somewhere in the middle, or you're going to have zoned out by the time they end, and you're only going to catch the end. So that's kind of the standard of it. But I will tell you, I used to laugh at people who said this, but I found it to be true. It's harder to do a 20-minute sermon than it is a 2-hour sermon sometimes. And so we're gonna try to keep this really short. I don't think we have to be here till midnight to feel the presence of the Lord. I think we can be concise with it and still get it done. But that is our goal here tonight. A little bit about this. Again, Saturday nights, this is something we're trying. This is not just a one-time thing. It's not just an event. We're doing this every Saturday night. It's kind of the same model. This was the first time. We used to do this on Sunday nights last year. We had some pretty good success with it. One of the issues we had, though, that led us to move it to Saturday nights this time. See, I haven't been able to interact with you guys as much. I think everybody here is from Cincy, right? Is that right? I don't think we had anybody else show up. Okay. But what I've tried to do is connect with a lot of the other churches. See, I'm a community guy at my heart. My wife and I, we're from Atlanta, Georgia. We've been out here about a year. And long story as to how we got out here, but you don't move from Atlanta, Georgia to Empire or Alabama. We live in Summerlin, technically. You don't move to Empire, Alabama to pastor a church like Owens Chapel. You don't move from one state to the other state for a church like that. Nothing against Owens Chapel, but it's not enough to make you move. But what God placed on our heart, we're connected pretty heavily with the pastors at Summerlin Church of God. And God placed on their heart a vision for all of Walker County. And we're pretty connected with that vision. We strongly believe in that. What I believe God has called us here to this area to do. And I've talked to all the pastors in the area by now and talked to them a little bit about the vision we're working together for. It's trying to come together and help pastor the whole community. Let's work together with what we're doing. Now, that sounds so simple. It's not really that easy. I believe God has called us here He's given us the platform of Owens Chapel, but called us here to help pastor the community. That's why I'm the chaplain for the Empire Fire Department. We've connected with as many churches as we can around, just trying to get my wife and I have worked with youth for a long time. And what I have found, you can never have too many adult influences in your life. And so we want to be here for you guys. We don't have to be your pastor. You don't have to come here. You don't have to attend here and have your name on the books to give us a call. My card, I'm not shy about who gets my number. My card is sitting right out there. My wife's a lot nicer than I am, so if you want to talk to her, you can get her phone number. You can call us night or day. She's a great person to talk about. She is great to talk about. She's a great person to talk to. And so I encourage you to make some connections. Does that mean you're cheating on your home church? No, not at all. I know your pastor. I think he's great. I know most of your leaders. I think they're great. So I got nothing bad to say against Cincy Church of God, and we are not here to try to get other church members. We are here to work together. And so I didn't want to be competing with other churches or anything and make it sound like we were. And sometimes on Sunday nights, it almost kind of felt like that. And because we had some people come from other churches and they felt bad. And so I was like, you know what? I hate that. It shouldn't feel bad. And so I want you to go to your church. But I understand there's a lot of smaller churches around here. We want to be able to work together and give you guys kind of the experience that you deserve. So come here, get what you get here. And when you go to 60, it's going to be a different experience for you there. And if that's your home, that's great. Connect there, be home, love that. And then come visit us on Saturdays if you'd like. If you want to come here, I'm perfectly fine with that. And this whole idea of like having to belong to a church and being there like only there, like you can't go anywhere else. It's not biblical. And too often we've done that. And my wife and I, we love visiting other churches. I'm not saying don't have yourself a home church and be connected. You need that. But don't feel bad to go to other churches and kind of visit around a little bit. Now, with that said, let me talk a little bit tonight. I had a quick word for you tonight, and it comes out of Psalms 46. Let me open up there real quick. Am I forgetting anything? Thanks. She keeps me straight. If we've got anything that I'm supposed to announce or anything. All right. It's been a long day for us today. It's been a really good day. You ever have days like that? They're really long, but they're really fun and good. And so you're okay with doing it. It's like, man, I'm not. It's days like that make you realize you're not as young as you used to be. And for those of you who are still young, trust me, the day's coming. I promise you. There will come a day when you won't have the energy that you have now. All right. Psalms 46, the opening scripture there says, God is our refuge and strength. I just want to talk to you a little bit tonight about refuge. I kind of did a little bit of a study on that word, and it means a condition of being safe or sheltered from pursuit, danger, or trouble. It's basically, it's a place where you get to get away from everything, and you find a safe. You feel safe there, and it's a place where you find peace and you find contentment, and you're able to kind of get away with the mess of what's going on in your life. I wanted to talk to you quickly, too, about the difference between refuge and recreation, because that's going to make some sense here in just a minute when I get into a little bit about refuges. Recreation is great. That's some of the things that we do, like, somebody give me some things that you do for recreation, like playing baseball or basketball or going camping or with your family. Anybody else got anything that you guys do? Y'all just sit at home. Okay? Y'all go to church. Y'all are great church kids. Y'all just go to church all your life, right? Everything you do, right? What's that?
They're going to do so that my life. You got a couple of them at work, but that's not recreation.
Hey, I enjoy work. I enjoy money. No, but recreation is defined as the action or process of creating something. Recreation is those things that we do when we need kind of a, you need kind of a break from everything, and so they're a little more, they're not as heavy as a moment, something like a refuge, maybe like a vacation or something like that, but you see it in the word what it's designed to do. Recreation, it's designed to kind of recreate you. It's kind of to bring you back to center, and so that you can do what you can do. See, refuge is a little bit different than that, though. Refuge is designed to not just give you a momentary break, but it's designed to be a place where you can remove yourself from the situation. We hear it on the news a lot of times now, where there be refugees coming from other countries. Well, they're not really coming here for a break. They're coming here to get out of their homeland for something totally different, to find a peace, to find rest from what's been going on in their life. And so I want to make sure I tell you that difference, because I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm about to tell you. See, Psalms 46 says that God is our refuge and strength. What I've noticed is a lot of times we mess that up and we take refuge in the things that really should just be recreation. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like, you get so wrapped up in life. I hear it all the time. People say, I need a vacation. And they think that vacation is what's going to set them back right. They think that vacation, that's just going to make everything right in their life again. That's going to be, if they could just live there in that moment. And like for some reason, they think that once they go on that vacation, their mind is going to be right when they get back, and they're going to kind of be able to live from that moment. Problem is, it never happens. When they get back from vacation, it's like they're as stressed out as they always have been, at least within a day or two. I know that happens to me a lot of times, too. And so, but then I hear the same people within a month, they're talking about, I need another vacation. I need another vacation. And next thing you know, they're living looking for that. Now, we see it in a lot of different things. That vacation is just kind of an example. It happens in a lot of ways. It could be just hanging out with your friends. It could be a TV show that you watch. It could be even a book that you watch. Nowadays, it's social media a lot. We just want to get away from the world. So, and I'm as guilty as anybody. Just picking up your phone and I'll be on social media without even recognizing, without even realizing I've done it. I'm not even thinking. I think maybe I do it in my sleep and I don't even realize it. It's just like it comes like second. It's almost like breathing now. And that's things we do to kind of get away from life. The problem is, the Bible tells us that God is our refuge. He's the only thing that we should turn to for that. Because whatever we turn to for our refuge, that's as strong as we are. We're no stronger than the thing we turn to for our refuge. I know one thing for me that I used to turn to my Father. That's what we do a lot of times. We think people are safe places to turn. That all this other stuff is superficial. That, okay, yeah, of course, I'm not going to turn to a book. I'm not going to turn to a movie. I'm not going to turn even to social media. Yeah, I do those things, but they're more kind of a recreational, just kind of a neat, kind of a fun thing to do. But that's not what, you want to know the difference between recreational and refuge. What can you not go a day without doing? Or at least thinking about or wishing you could do those kind of things. That's the difference. Recreation, you don't spend your time kind of thinking about it. You just, yeah, I'd like to do that. Refuge is like, I need that. If I can't get that, I don't think I can handle the world. I don't think I can deal with what's going on in my life. When the Bible tells us when we get to that, God is the only thing that can be that. I kind of messed up, and I think most kids will do this at some point. I kind of put my father in that category when I was a child. He was, man, anything happened to me in my life, he was the one I ran to. I was like, I felt like it didn't matter what was going on. As long as my dad was there, it was all good. I mean, just the whole world my world would be falling apart. As long as my dad was there, all right, he's about to set it all right again. Problem was, when I was 15, my dad died of a massive heart attack. He was only 36, in perfect health. You never know what life is going to throw at you. And so when he passed away, my life was just kind of, I didn't know what to turn to. I mean, I was a Christian, but I'm just going to be straight with you. I didn't really turn to God very much. I went to church, just kind of filled the pews a little bit, didn't really have a relationship with God. When things got tough, I turned to my Father. Well, when he was gone, I had to find something else to turn to. And it left me, because I had not thought about it before the event happened, it left me in a lot of trouble and searching in my life. The Bible tells us that there's a reason that we have to turn to God, because he's the only thing that can't be shaken. See, everything in this world, and I learned that even people can be taken away from you. It's great to have good relationships. It's great to have people in your life that you can depend on. But your refuge, the thing that you turn to, and we're all going to need this. I mean, I'm going to be honest, there's no way I would want to be a teenager nowadays. It was tough enough when I was a teenager, and I'm sure it's even worse now with everything that's thrown on you. So if you don't need to kind of have a center point of something to stand on to make it through this world, I promise you, you will need it one day. You're going to need something that when you're hit with the storms of life, you're going to be able to turn to and say, okay, the storms all around me, but where I'm at right now, I'm good. I can take refuge here. You're going to need that in life. And so it's important, though, to determine that good place for refuge now before the storm actually hits. You can't build a hurricane-proof house during a hurricane. It doesn't make sense. You have to build it before the hurricane comes. So I want you to put a little thought into that as we work through this. And then this last point here before I get into breaking apart refuge a little bit. It says God is our refuge and our strength. See, recreation, it's about bringing things back to the same. When you find the source that you need for life to take refuge in, it doesn't just make you the same. It gives you the strength. It does more than just keeps you peace and just keeps you steady. That's part of our problem is most people are just searching in life looking for comfort. They live most of their life looking for the most comfortable way to live life. And that's part of our problem. We can't live like that. What we're told to do is seek God with all of our heart. And when we find Him, He is our refuge. Not whether or not life is working out right, but no matter what's happening in life, He is our refuge. And then when we seek refuge in Him, we get a strength that comes from Him that this world can't explain. You're able to go further than you ever could go. Like the vacation example. When people get back to vacation, the mindset may last a day or two, but then they're right back in the mess. You get to where God is your refuge, you can deal with anything this world throws at you, and you can not only kind of stay the same, but you'll be able to thrive, not just survive in this world, but you'll be able to thrive in life once you realize that God is your source. That's what I had to learn, because right after, I don't want to tell you my whole story tonight, but right after my father died, my grandfather became my father figure. I would love to tell you that I learned my lesson real quick, but I didn't. My grandfather became my father figure. And he was, by all accounts, he was a great Christian man. But he had some things happen in his life, and he ended up killing a woman and committed suicide. So then I was there again. The next thing that I took refuge in was messed up. And so there was a number of other things that happened in my life, but all those things led me to realizing that there's a lot of great things in this world. You need to enjoy all the things that are in it, all the good things that are in it that are from God. But none of these things in this world can complete you. None of them are things that you can take refuge in. None of them are things that will satisfy you to get you out of this world, to be able to take refuge in them. And so that left me as a teenager having a lot of questions. That was kind of the way I was led to Christ. I was not led to Christ because I just had such great church services, and it was just like, it was fun for me. I would say almost I was led to Christ kind of kicking and screaming. Now, it is the best life you'll ever have, but I was a pretty stubborn individual when it came to coming to Christ. I ended up, really the reason why I got completely committed to Christ, because I realized it was not just one way to God. It was the truth. Once you see the truth, you can't look away. It's like what Jesus told his disciples in John chapter 6, that he asked, he said, will you turn away from me now? Because he was asking them to do some things that was pretty tough. He turned to his disciples. A lot of people had already left him. He turned to his disciples and said, will you leave me now too? And Peter turned to him and said, where are we going to go? You've got the words of eternal life. You've got to get to that point with God. And if you're not there, you've got to get there to where no matter what he asks you to do, because he's your refuge, he's the only thing you can turn to. Where are you going to go? There is nowhere else to go. So let me run through a couple of these tonight. First, as we work through Psalms 46, if you want to take refuge in God, the first thing you got to realize is you take refuge in his presence. It says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. It doesn't say God will send you present, or send you help, or send you someone that will help you, or create situation that will help you. It says he himself, he is the help. And so church programs are great. They're a great way for us as humans to kind of organize things and pull things together and make sense of things. But there is no program that will help you when your world is falling apart. I can tell you that the only thing that helps you, I'll give you, just yesterday, I went and talked with a woman on her deathbed. When you get on your deathbed, you get a whole different perspective of life. I know it'd be hard for many of you to imagine right now, but C.S. Lewis and even Solomon in the Bible talks about it. If you'll live, not in a morbid way, but with death in mind, that is that you realize that life is not promised to you, but that every day is a precious gift. If you'll live with that in your mind, you'll live a much happier and more fulfilled life than ever before. And what I recognized yesterday, I knew this truth, but I wanted to kind of test it out again yesterday. That person that was on their deathbed, they didn't need answers. They didn't need a program. They didn't need complete understanding. They just wanted presence. They wanted people to be, they wanted to know that they weren't alone, that people were there, that somebody was there. And that's what we need when our world's falling apart. The first thing we want, I've been with people where they've lost loved ones for no good reason. And most of them, they're filled with these questions. Why did this happen? Why would a loving God take my father away? Why would a loving God take my child away? Well, all these questions. On the surface, they're pretty legitimate questions. The fact is, even the answer to those things, it's not going to help them. They need a presence. So that's why it's so important. Why are we going to be so emphatic about praise and worship? Because what I've learned, and the psalmist talks about this, is when our words fail us, then we just lift our hands in honor and we praise God. And he says he encompasses the praises of his people. See, that's what we need more than anything, is the presence of God in our life. Not just to know about it. I'm a big proponent of knowledge and understanding who God is and understanding why you're a Christian. I know people who have been in church for years and they can't tell you why they're a Christian. They can't even explain to somebody how to be saved. So I understand we need some more knowledge there, but let me tell you, knowledge will not help you in those times. You need the presence of the Lord. So you got to understand how to encounter the presence of the Lord. Second, we got to take refuge in God's peace. I love this part of the psalm. Verse 2 says, therefore we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and though mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though those waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling. There is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. God shall help her just at the break of dawn. The nations raged, the kingdoms were moved. He utters his voice, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. I love that because it talks about taking refuge in the presence of God. And I love the first part of that. It says, we will not fear. You have to force yourself to not fear in moments where your life is falling apart. Why would you not fear? You won't fear. See, people don't fear when they have most people fear darkness because it's unknown. They don't know what's going on in the room, so they're afraid of what's happening there. You flip the light on, a lot of the fear that dissipates and is gone. And so what we need is, if we trust in God, we've got to continually remind ourselves that while it may be looking dark in our situation, there is a God that is controlling everything, that does see everything. While we may not see it, he sees it. And if he's not angry, or if he's not upset, I tell my little girl all the time, she gets kind of nervous sometimes when it's thundering and lightning. I tell her, look, you look at me. If I'm not nervous, you're good. Okay? You use me as a standard. If you think you're going to get a little nervous, a little bit, you're kind of concerned about what's going on, look to me. If I'm calm, you're calm. And she'll do that sometimes. It'll start thundering and lightning, and she'll come into my room, and she'll be like, all right, how are you doing, Daddy? And she'll want to know. I'm like, I'm good, baby. As long as I'm calm, she's calm. So we got to start taking refuge in the peace of God. Look, in this world, it says here that the world was, everything was falling around them. And then God with his voice. I love doing that. When I used to teach, I used to do substitute teaching back in Atlanta a little bit. And I would do this thing when my voice, my voice is a little bit dry right now. These kids, now I know I can look around here. You guys are all angels, I get it. But it wasn't always that way back in Atlanta, I promise you. Some of the kids were a little bit crazy, especially when you get a substitute teacher in there. I get it. So I would do this thing. I'd be like, class, quiet. And they weren't used to like a loud voice. Usually I get a little louder now. My voice is a little hoarse, excuse me. But just that sharp voice quietens them down. I would have kids like just kind of straighten up like that. And the example, that's what God does. No matter what's going on in our world around us, just with one quick word from him, it just all stops. Nothing in this world has power over God. He controls everything. So we have to take refuge in knowing that there is a God that offers that kind of peace. And then third, a refuge of God's protection. Verse 8, come behold the works of the Lord, who has made desolations in the earth, who made war cease to the end of the earth, who breaks the bow and cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariot in fire. God actually loves us. This was something that was hard for me to kind of get a hold of, just to be honest with you. I didn't really struggle with the allness of God, the power of God. That kind of makes sense to me. And I've studied a lot of Christian apologetics to this now in my life, throughout my life, kind of explaining why do we believe in God. If you don't believe God created everything, you just have a misunderstanding of history. That's kind of a no-brainer to me. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't, but if you study history at all and look at it and look at science, it's easy to see that God created everything. So that never really was tough for me. What was tough for me was trying to connect that a God that was that powerful actually loved me, actually took time to have a thought about me. That's what I needed to know. And as my life kind of went on, that was the thing that God revealed to me. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't get that until I was really baptized with the Holy Spirit. That's really kind of a conversation for a whole other day. But that's what the Holy Spirit is here for. It says it's a deposit on our salvation. So what we're able to do here is we're able to encounter the Holy Spirit. And it's that personal side of a powerful God. It gives us that relationship. Hebrews said it this way, says we are now able to come boldly into the throne room of God. In the Old Testament, they had all these rules and regulations they had to do. Because at that point, God was kind of an impersonable God because of what the systems that were set up. But now, you don't have to go through all these rules and regulations. You can go into the presence of God right now. And the fact that God is not up there with a plan and trying to see, okay, well, here's what I got laid out for you. Just see the best you can do. No, he's actually he wants to help us. He wants to be with us and guide us in everything that we're doing. The problem is we kind of get it in our mind that we know best. And logically, that doesn't even make sense. If we're here, best, 80, 90 years? How do we even consider or comprehend that we would know better than an eternal God? Doesn't even make sense if you think of it like that. But sometimes we start getting that mindset in our mind that we know better about God or better about life, and we just ask God to come be along with us. We got to trust in God that He's actually here to protect us. He's not here to hurt us. He's not here to manipulate us. He's actually, because He created everything, He knows better how to do everything in life, how it should work than we do. We live in a fallen world. Our souls and our spirits are in fallen bodies. They're going to be redeemed one day. But right now we have to deal with all of that. And so what do we do? What do we look to understand how to operate in this stuff? We look to God. That's our refuge through everything that we're going through. We got to trust that the things that are happening in our life that almost may feel like God's against you, it's God working all things out for your good. You've probably heard that scripture. You've been in church any length of time. You've heard that scripture quoted a lot. But you've got to get that in your mind that you actually believe that. That nothing happens in your life without God orchestrating or at least allowing it to happen. And anything, doesn't mean all things are going to be good. Not everything's going to feel good in life. But whatever happens in your life, God is going to use that for your good and to make you who He's called you to be. The last thing is this, and it kind of falls in line with this, is you got to take refuge in God's plan. Verse 10. After all of that, it just says this, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. I love that. Just be still. There is nothing that will wear you out more than trying to play God. We do it all the time, though. I mean, no matter what age we are, it's not just the young generation. It's not the older generation. We all do it. And I don't even know what point it really is. I think it hits different people at different points. But there's a point where we think, all right, I may not know everything, but I know enough to start doing this thing. I think I got this figured. I know what life is about. And as soon as you think you got that worked out, man, fall flat on your face. We have to trust that God has a plan. That's why I love studying Bible prophecy. I don't study Bible prophecy so that I can prove myself smart and be able to tell who the Antichrist is. That's not the purpose to study it. But for me, and I just shared with you a couple of things that happened in my life. There was a lot that happened. But what brought me uh, uh, um, to a solid point in life, what brought me security was actually studying Bible prophecy. And why did it do that? Because it showed me that this is not all an accident. Everything that's happening is not just the works of man. God himself has a plan for all of humanity and for all of creation. We have stepped into it at this point in life that is our life. But humanity's been going on for a long time, and it's not been an accident. Evolution. If your school is teaching you evolution, give me 2 minutes with you, and I promise you, I'll shoot it down quick. There is no evidence for evolution. It's just a stupid theory. There's evidence, I won't get into all that. It's just a stupid theory. And I would love for you to tell me the future of that and let me come talk about it. Anyhow, evolution is not true. She laughs when she knows that's true. Anyhow, this thing is not, it's not a mistake. There's been a design from day one. God has not changed his plan. Jesus Christ was the plan of redemption from day one, the day this thing was created. God is eternal. He's outside of time. We live in time. But to know that there's an eternal God who has a plan for us, that should bring us security. And sometimes you're not going to understand what's happening in life. Sometimes you got to do what it says. Sometimes you just got to rest in God's plan. Just say, you know what? I don't get this. None of this makes sense to me. None of this looks good. I don't understand what you're doing. I'm just going to trust you. Be still. Trust that you have my best interest at heart. That you're here to protect me. That I can rest in your peace. That your presence will never leave me nor forsake me. That you'll always be right here with me. We've got to have those things in life. Because again, I don't know what you guys are all dealing with. I don't think I know really any of you. I know this gentleman here. He's got such an easy life. He never deals with anything. You guys all may be going through things right now. But I'm telling you, statistics show, there's been a lot of statistics done on this. We all like to perceive that our future is going to have a lot of really good stuff in it. I'm not trying to scare you or anything here. But if you live long enough, you're going to face some messed up stuff. Life happens, okay? It's because we live in, it's not God's fault. It's because we live in a fallen world. This is what happens when the world system rejects the Creator. Nobody wakes up as a kid and says they dream of, I want to be addicted to drugs when I get older. I wish I had a drinking problem as an adult. Maybe it'd be nice to be divorced 4 times by the time I'm 30. It'd be great. Nobody wakes up thinking like that. It just happens when you fall off the track of life, of what you're supposed to do. And so what do we do in life? You don't just react to life. You have to be proactive to it. How do you do it? You decide right now, before the major storms in life come, that my refuge is in God. It's not in all these things in life because they're great. They're great for recreation. They're great to find some happiness in. But they're not where I get my fulfillment from. God is the only place to get your fulfillment from. Mr. Kyle, if you come, I want to close with this. It's not just an Old Testament thing. This was really the purpose why Jesus came. Jesus said it like this in Matthew 11:28-30. It says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden. I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and lowly in heart. And you will find rest for your soul. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." That's what Jesus was saying. This is part of salvation. See, I talk to so many Christians that, they trust God for their eternal security, but they can't trust Him for their day-to-day needs. This doesn't make sense. Now, I'll have to admit, I struggle with some of that kind of stuff in my mind too. I'm like, okay, yeah, I do trust God, but I want to be a good steward of what's happening here on earth. See, Jesus said this, that if we'll line ourselves up with His will, He said it a different way in another place. He said, "Put first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added to you." See, this is part of the salvation package that we get. You get so much more than just a get out of hell free card when you receive Christ into your heart. Part of it is this. You get assured that you have a solid place to find refuge. You're not having to walk through this life alone. This is what Jesus offers. What do we got to do? He said, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me." How are we going to find rest in Him? Not just calling on Him when our world falls apart and tell Him to come make our plans work. No, we do what Jesus says do. We obey Him. Why? It just makes sense. God created it all. Jesus Christ, there's nobody else. I don't care who else is important in your life. Nobody has died for you. So if you've got to decide who to listen to Jesus Christ. I think He's paid a high penalty for you. We follow Him. And then what He's told us is, I'm not telling you everything's going to work out perfect for you. But what I'm telling you is I'll always be there for you. You can find rest in me. You're not going to have to do life alone. You got to understand. I want to take just a moment, and I don't know what you guys are used to. Everybody does things a little different, I guess. I want to ask, there's not a big group. It's going to make everybody uncomfortable if I ask you to come to the front. Don't want to bother. Okay, everybody come to the front. And we don't have to gather around in a big circle, but I want you to have a little bit of space, actually, because I don't want to do this as a group, actually, right now. I want you to take some more time, and see, another thing we got to do is people. You got to think about what you're thinking about. There's so many things out there trying to tell us how to think and what to think about. You got to think about what you're thinking about. I want you to take just a couple of moments here. I'm not going to spend a long time, but just a couple of moments, and just think about resting in the presence of God. Clear your mind of all this clutter that is bombarding your mind all the time. Spend some actual time with God. We're just going to take a couple of minutes. How would you lead us in something? Just close your eyes. Do whatever's comfortable for you. If you want to kneel, if you want to stand, if you want to jump around, I don't really care what you do. But I want you to spend some personal time with God. I'm going to tell you, if this kind of stuff's nervous, get ready. You let God really control your life. He does not promise us that life will not be nerve-wracking. He just promises that it will be the best thing that will ever happen to us. You got to get comfortable worshiping God. Just take a few minutes.
There's no one like you. There's no one like you, Lord. There's no one like you. All the earth. There's no one like you. There's no one like you, Lord. There's no one like you. All the set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more. No place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. No place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be than here in your love, here in your love. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more, 'cause I want more. I want more. I want more. I want more of you, God.
desperate for something. God's not looking for people to just kind of say, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll take it. Like he's an order of fries or something. Yeah, sure, I don't really feel like that right now, but yeah, I know I need something. He's okay, yes, sir. He's looking for people who are desperate for him. It's part of, I feel like, my calling in life, and I wish I could go more into it. But I was one of those weird kids that, I don't know how weird it is now. It may not be allowed. I took my Bible to school with me, and I read it as much as I could. Why? Not because I was trying to be like a Bible thumper, but as I shared, I was going through some stuff as a teenager. I couldn't find answers anywhere. I was desperate for God. You know, when you get desperate, you start forgetting, you start not caring what people think about you, what you look like. You know, if you were, like my little girl, if she was hurt, I wouldn't even pay attention to what any of you thought about, or what you thought about me. I did whatever I could to get her well. When you realize how desperate you need God, how much your soul is empty without Him, without His guidance in your life, you become desperate. That's when you start really forgetting and not caring about what people think about you when you praise and worship. Because what I'm telling you is that's just been the key in my life. Is it opened the door for me when I could freely praise and worship Him. Then I started feeling His presence more in my life. I encourage you. You've got to let that kind of stuff go. We all do it. We go to YouTube. You've got to get where you want God more than you care about what other people think about you. If you can't do it in here, how are you going to really stand for Him in your school or out in the world? This should be a very easy place for us to come together and spend time worshiping God. Just take a couple of more minutes and just worship Him however you feel comfortable doing so.
No place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be. Here in your love, here in your love. No place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be. No place I'd rather be. Here in your love, here in your love. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God.
If you could all join me, we're going to say a closing prayer. You guys can be dismissed. You're welcome if you want to. It's up to you guys. You're welcome to stay downstairs and hang out as long as you like. Or you're welcome to be dismissed, whatever you guys want. Father God, we've come to you tonight, Father, seeking your presence more than anything, Father. God, this world is not easy. This life is not easy. It's just overbearing often when we try to do it ourselves, God. It wears us out, Father. God, there's things that this world can offer that can bring us temporary relief, Father. God, I pray that you would reveal in the people's hearts here, God. At this stage in their life, Father, that you're the only thing that they can run to find real refuge, to find real security, real safety. No matter what's going on around them, it doesn't mean their situation has to be right, Father. Because God, I believe that's part of the calling you've laid on my life, Father, is to help people find you and to be secure in you before they run into a lot of the mess that happened in my life. Say, hey, yeah, you go through all that, trust me. You're going to find God. You're going to see God. But you don't have to get there. God wants to meet you right where you are now. Reveal who He is to you. God, help them to see that. God, reveal yourself to them in their heart, Father. God, I thank you for your word tonight, Father God. We worship you and we honor you in all that we do, Father God. I thank you for all the people that have shown up here tonight. God, I pray that you bless them, Lord, for the time and effort that it took, Lord, to come and to change their schedules around and be willing to be here, Lord, to support what your kingdom is doing in this community, Father. It's at Owens Chapel, and I know I pull the title of the pastor of Owens Chapel, Lord, but God, this is not an Owens Chapel event. We're doing this, Lord, because we want to see your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's our heart's desire. That's what Jesus told us to pray. That's what we're praying, God. We want to see God in our lives, in our churches all around here, God, in our communities, in our schools, everywhere. We want to see the kingdom of God manifest in our lives, God. Father, go with them and keep them safe, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. Again, you guys are welcome to hang out and go downstairs as long as you'd like. Or if you'd like to go home, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Whatever makes you happy. Thank you guys for coming. We got to get you guys talking. We got to talk. We got to get to talking. Man. It's all about.
It was one at the Highlands. Lisa Bevere was there. Darlene Shack led worship. Yes, sir. Yeah. That's it, man. That is me.
Yeah, I never asked that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I love that, man. He's a good guy. Good guy.
Really? He's got to have a line, or he's got to have some. Is it therapy and just have to deal with it?
Somebody needs to get the brain with ribs. So you need to refresh his memory. Mike needs to put the ribs for on.
I've never heard of it.
Don't matter, man. I'll go back to wherever. I'll go see that.
Yeah, try not to accidentally use it. You just tell me. Hey, I like that. I like that.
You're trying to put me to sleep.
Go. Everybody's dinner.
No.
Yeah, it's great.
I can't even do that right now.
Hey, Rhonda, dinner's on y'all.
Ray's got the money, he better be
Hey, you
said
got
to have it. I don't have it.
Hey, pizza's cheap. Pizza's cheap.
They got to go.
I'll get y'all a $5 pizza. Oh, wait, it ain't on my way to the church, so SOL.
Hey, you can even cook, dude.
What?
You can even cook. Hey, you wanna buy me some ramen noodles?
I don't cook.
You wanna buy me some ramen noodles?
I don't have the money, I don't have my
I
purse.
was just talking about cooking. I said, I
Oh,
don't
I'm
cook.
not cooking nothing. I've got like a leftover hamburger casserole.
Hey, come on, Rhonda, come on, I never ate at Joe's house.
Boy, you're in a house of God, quit lying.
I just like,
Or the kind in the cup. The kind in the cup just sucks. I asked him for all my noodles at least.
I don't even have, I don't keep that in the house. I don't have.
I know exactly. No, I don't.
I don't even have, I just keep that.
We start making changes.
Oh, okay. We do it all. So we had, I know Joe was Oh, okay.
So I actually work with him too, so I kind of hear from all different ways.
Yeah.
Plan on tomorrow.
Yeah, so we actually,
I should have a
we
little
talk
time.
about it. And he, it's a great work. That's all that matters.
That's it.
So,
Y'all have a great service
Yes, ma'am.
tomorrow.
y'all too.
Oh, one thing I did notice, this might not be possible. If it was possible, we lower the angle of the cameras.
Yeah.
Dude, I look, I mean, I know I'm losing my hair, I look all.
Yeah, and when we light you up the right way too, you're gonna look bald again.
I know.
Oh, you gonna light up like
Like when we actually triangularly right, like you do it the right way.
Dude, it's tough to see, man. And so, you know, there may not be anything we do.
Well, I mean, for right now we can because we've only got like just the top down coming at you, as far as the light's concerned. But once we start pushing those shadows back, it's going, you know, yeah. But I'm actually gonna get,
Other than that, I thought, the sound, even Nancy noticed the sound the moment I started playing, the sound was 100%.
well, I extracted the audio
Yeah.
from the video, imported it into GarageBand. I took out that mid frequency. It's right around, I think, like 800 hertz, or kilohertz, right around 800 kilohertz. That, or 80 kilohertz, let's say. That's there. That hiss was there. So I took that out and I just boosted your highs and a little mid and a little bit of low end.
Just sounded good. It
You know?
sounded like.
So
I'm
it was just it was just, you know,
Yeah.
it was good. It's
You can
good.
definitely tell the difference. My ear is not good enough to tell what the difference was, but you can just tell the difference better.
Yeah. Does this thing work?
Yeah.
Oh.
we clean this? Or we have the back this and we clean this? Just like you did it. The critter stuck to the bottom. One that's
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
Let's see. Does it have the built-in laser pointer?
But it doesn't work too good on it because it's so far away. Like you use TV there.
Oh yeah, it completely washes out on the TV. You're on like a screen now.
Right, on the screen it does pretty good.
But that's sick though, bro. I like that. Oh, if you ever want me to speak one night, bro, let me know.
I would
And
love
I'll,
that. And Megan, I would love either one of them, both of you. I just want to see what it does. I knew that there was a chance that the guy that actually set it up, he was in the hospital. You know, that's the one.
yeah.
He had his appendix out.
Oh, okay.
And so he wouldn't have to leave, so he sent me a text, and he wouldn't come to the computer. I really haven't encountered that church a lot. Glad they came. I'm gonna get, it's just the same. You do it, yeah. It's tough. It's almost like this is the thing. You would think, like, oh, cool. Instead, around here, it's like, this is your asking for. It's like, you're asking for us to change our schedules. You know, like a one-time thing, change our schedules.
Yeah. It's definitely a situation for sure.
I would love, if nothing would please me more than to start having a coach. I have Nancy, she does different. like he's right at your heart. Like, stop it.
Uh,
Like, I'm more of a, usually I'm more kind of like he stops.
yeah.
But she's real gentle. And then, yeah, I would love
I
that.
like the ASPCA commercials.
Nice. Yards the angels.
All of these is downside of our challenge is we have to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
we
what's
don't
on
have
my-
any, and we don't have any.
Well, I don't know,
Yeah.
and even like with the kids at our church too, which really just comes down to the kids. Because we have to, a lot of our kids come from the inner city. So we do actually have to schedule stuff out, you know, and it's not just like a regular youth group at a church or whatever. Hey, we're gonna go here and everybody meets up like what we grew up with. You know what I'm saying? But I know that Josh and Lindsay would love to come. Yeah, you know, and
We would love to have, like I said, it's like starting a church.
yeah,
One week, may have it next week. They may not show up, and you know it. Or next week, they may not show up, and somebody else shows up.
yeah.
So, we just don't know. It's,
Somebody that we don't know who, and we don't know how we're going to, but all of Walker County,
all things
Walker County,
they said. But, so,
and
Well, people that, from what I understand, people that do, because I used to work for 78 Magazine, who is in the loop with like all things Walker County and like the one that just did that really long video. I don't know if you saw on Facebook, Walker County something. I can't remember. It's the commission in Walker County that actually reviews grant proposals.
oh, Walker County, Walker County Community Foundation.
That's it. That's it.
that's what they said about how like grants.
I
Well,
just
yeah.
emailed them a grant.
Oh, they did.
That's what I did Friday that bounced.
Okay. So Walker County, that's it. The Walker County Community Foundation, and they're the ones that feed a lot into that, and you know approve or disapprove whatever grants. But you know they. Long story short, they're in the loop, and really and truthfully, they are just those pages are just always they're all about Walker County. So if there's anything going on in Walker County that even looks remotely okay, then they'll just grab it and share it. You know, so which is good.
Yeah, which I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
We just, it just shocked us because we were like,
I think we need to do a promo, and I think we need to put some advertising on it.
And I'm fine with that.
I think if you take you could take a budget of really we could take a budget of $200 a month, and do $50 a week on. We'll do a video and boost it and stuff like that.
See, I've been doing it. What my standard has been is when I have the time to one video a week of something, whether it be our advertisements, whether it be our cell phone service, next time, whatever it was, $20 a week.
Yeah.
Those get decent.
Yeah, I mean, as long as people click, as long as people see it and click on it, then because you don't spend a dime unless somebody actually sees and clicks on it.
See, that's the thing. I'm encouraged by the fact you go out in the community, start talking to people. The attitude toward this church has changed in the last 6 months. They see us doing stuff that they laugh with here actually.
Yeah.
And actually realize we're not close.
Well, and I think that's where, because you know, even beyond youth groups, yeah, we're reaching out to the community, and we are, you know, we're definitely working towards, you know, a cause and wanting to bring other churches on board with this. But the thing about it is beyond that, I think this thing is going to blow up for most of the meth heads in this area.
I can see that.
And and they're the ones that are gonna see it because they're the ones that are gonna come to church, to see something different, which is leads me to my next point. I think we need to up the production. I think altar service was good with keys and vocal. But I think I need to look at finding some tracks or something that we can work with. I don't know. Let me do some research. Are we going to? Well, here's my question. Since I know that I'm technically of this movement, I'm technically a staff member now. So.
Well, that's important. I don't want you to feel that. I don't want you to feel like an outsider.
Yeah.
You're not talking like the way I see. This is the way I view this right now. If you're not in this, you're not in it.
Yeah.
So I want you to see that. I want you to see this as a joint venture. It's not my thing.
Well, that's awesome. And not that. Let me put it this way. I didn't feel like that, but not in a negative way whatsoever. I was happy to help you out with your thing. But if this is something that we're doing together,
I
then
want to make sure that that's good because I'm just that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In my mind, I don't like people having to guess what I'm thinking.
yeah,
In my mind, that's good.
Okay.
If you back out of this, it's not gonna hurt my feelings.
right,
I'll just see it as a sign of okay, good. We're gonna do this next time.
yeah,
But I believe I've done a lot of prayer. I believe this thing is going to happen. I think you're the guy's going to happen. One way or the other.
yeah,
Join it because you have the mindset that's needed. You know that area. There's a lot of good reasons. You're not talking about anyhow.
yeah.
Just,
Well,
I want you to know that.
I know we're not working with an unlimited budget, and I'm spitting out a lot of financial stuff right now.
You want to go to the lunch hall.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we stick with that that $20 a month right now? Because really, I think what's needed more, since we don't have anyone. Eventually, if this is something, like I said, that we're doing together, then what I envision is a full-fledged worship team over here.
Yeah.
Full band, the whole spiel. Multiple singers, multiple worship leaders. Doing the thing and pulling those from those faithful that are coming.
I think if we can get to the point where it's tough in the sanctuary, we can get to the point where we can have any kind of decent live stream of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be good.
Yeah.
Because our online presence, our community presence, doesn't match our knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's going to be that way in any church I pastor. Because I feel like the big church or the big church,
Mm-hmm.
you're this small, and it's small.
Yeah.
But
I'd really like to, I'd really like to do a series at some point, whether it be, within the next month or next week or next year. I don't know, but at some point, I'd like to do a series on worship.
I think it's great. That's what's right in our heart.
And really just dive into that. Because really, the reason why these kids didn't even move tonight is because they don't know their sons and daughters.
They don't understand. And you kind of.
It's not just the aspect of worship, it's that they don't know who they are.
I know. I said a couple of things where I thought it would be may have been. They were kind of careful because I said I could talk to a Christian or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be honestly, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope they come back.
Yeah. I feel like they will. Dustin, I feel like Dustin Long is all about a movement of God. That's one thing about him. He may be religious as the day is long, but he is all about a move of God, which really and truthfully completely contradicts how he acts as a person. Because the way he acts is like full-blown COG.
See, you probably know it better than I. I probably totally got about 2 hours of interaction with him.
Well,
Over our whole.
he's definitely, he's definitely got the cog in him for
Yeah.
sure. You know what I'm saying? But
That's his dad is pastor.
and have been raised all the way up there, and you know, but the thing about it is that it's, it's but I was going to so that makes sense too. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, but here's the thing. I've watched this happen. I came into worship like about 2 years ago. Okay? I watched women suffer, and uh, which a lot of their suffering, if I'm just being honest with you too, now there's warfare that has to go down, and there's walls that we've had to break down in Jasper, and honestly, you know, you can see, you feel it. To me, I can drive into this town and feel a complete difference. Just feel the presence of darkness versus when I drive in Jasper. But the thing about it is that's where Holy Spirit told them to land. So that's the land that we cleared.
I'll be honest with you, there's no way I would have chosen Empire.
Yeah, yeah.
To do any kind of church, I think I just, well, yeah, I did not choose people. I was here, and now pretty often, you have not released this. I'm not saying it's good, I enjoy it. It's just like, you know, other places like that, even like I said, for him, my church in Martindale would have been different.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
But that's not what God called. For me, there's other opportunities, better opportunities. Whatever reason, God has called us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever he's doing, we're gonna be a part of it.
I mean, we're gonna be a part of it, and we're gonna do it, and you know, this place is gonna be packed. You know, which you know, like I said, I've watched my engine warfare, and I've watched them really suffer, and I know that really there's a lot of stuff that has been that had to break off of them as well. A lot of personal things, a lot of new things spiritually that they had to learn beyond you know where they've been and stuff like that. So what they've done is really cleared the path for people like me. I right now in 15 years, if I continue to stay humble and I continue to let Holy Spirit read my word, I right now am 15 years ahead of my age.
Because you're learning it.
Because I'm learning it 15 years before they learn it,
Now,
right?
one of the reasons why I asked that question you asked me all about,
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You know, I've got. Yeah. Well, you've got really WLC and DC and Jasper that are really kind of on the cutting edge. And DC more so because they're more of a mega church model. You know, they've got the whole they got the whole Highlands because they're an art church with Highlands. So yeah, yeah, they're an art church or they work. That's how they got their start. Yeah, that's how they that's how they got their start. And they may not still be in our church.
It's well known now.
I heard rumors that he was getting divorced, but is he stepping down as pastor? What I understand is so he. Okay.
I don't know all the details.
I mean, there's two sides to every story.
And I always tell her there's three sides.
Well, yeah.
His, hers,
And
and
in the church, that's right. That's right.
I don't care who you think you are, how holy or not you think they're all biased.
Right.
I think that's pretty simple as more basically simple.
Yeah.
But if you don't think the same thing about the bully,
Yeah.
then you're not your father.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anyhow, there's three stories there.
So did she was it him or was it her?
The only story I've got is that she I don't know what all that means. What I do know, and suspect it, I've learned this a couple of different seasons that we've had. There's a load on the pastor, and there is a heavy bill on the pastor's wife too. A lot of the tax will come through the pastor's wife. And so, if you're not careful as a Islam, so careful, if you're not careful as a pastor, you will be so focused on the church, you'll think your wife is thinking for herself. You won't put that cover for your wife. And that's why I told this church, maybe I can't. I'm not married to you guys. I'm married to her. Yeah. I want to pastor you guys. I'm married to Jesus Christ. Yeah. So with that, does that happen? I suspect a lot of that happened. I met her once. Family was a teacher's God.
Yeah, they're the graphic family.
Great.
Rachel is, as far as I know, she's got a younger. I know her younger sister better because myself and her younger sister are closer in age. So I know Rebecca Bradley really well. I actually went to school with her, sung with her. We, were on the praise team, chapel praise team, and stuff like that. So I had a lot of relationship with her, but not as much with Rachel because I never actually went to Sunday church. I was just friends with a lot of people and then just so happened to be best friends with Devin Stevenson's daughter. Devin Stevenson, under Lane Sargent, under Lucian Lane Sargent, was the worship pastor there. And he was the guy that really established like the standard of worship in the church. Right now, back in the day, it was killer.
Yeah.
I mean, you had like he did this whole huge production called His Glory back in the day. Bro, dude, I'm telling you, there was nothing better than Easter time and getting tickets to it. Because tickets were free, but you didn't get tickets because that 1,500 seater auditorium was full every night. And they probably saw close to 10,000 people on the weekend back in the heyday, like with His Glory, with Easter stuff. Right. So, anyway, but that being said, I didn't really know a relationship with her, but I do know this. Wayne was getting paid the late for a lot you learn. And if you stop learning, then you just need to quit because you're just complacent at that point. In my opinion. So I'm not saying that I've got it figured out, but I know because I've seen what a roundup looks like. And, as far as the community of Empire, I am all in for this.
That's what we're looking to do. It's about I had some of these conversations with Wayne before. It's Church of God. But I'm pretty into it. I'm not going to speak evil about this, but I'm not going to put the crazies out there either.
Right.
Crazies, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm called to Empire, there's not another building around here around.
Yeah.
So, You don't start a church. I got my Sunday morning crowd that can finance it.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a benefit I do have is I don't have to get money out of it.
Yeah,
And so that's a great way to at least start.
yeah,
You don't have that pressure on you.
absolutely.
So, matter of fact, it's actually one of the problems the church got has had over the years, especially recently, because there's so hands off to some of the smaller churches, or really all the smaller churches. I have that experienced this a couple of times. Smaller churches, some of them will try to grow. By the time the church gets their hand on it, they try to say, "Come on, now, no, you're not doing that quite right. You're not doing that quite right." Guys, they say, "It doesn't matter." But what we need, where were you at when we needed?
Yeah.
We need you now. That's happening a lot.
Withdrawing from the denomination. A lot of people do withdraw from the denomination, purchasing the building that they're in.
That's what's been happening because by the time the church is done, by the time they get on the church got the radar. And I'm not saying that the churches have been doing like anti-biblical things.
Right, right.
But just some of the things. Once you get a certain level, you know, to represent the right. Yeah. You try to push that on church to a wrong without the denomination, you put that in the car.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I'm not saying I don't know what people want to do. All I'm saying is I have like that. Where were you at when
Yeah.
we needed you?
There we go.
So
And we actually need it. So yeah, absolutely. So I think you know, there's obviously a lot to talk about.
we don't have to do it overnight.
I think something big that we need to do is probably on money.
Oh, it is, man. Without that, you don't know how tough that was for you.
I looked at my watch and I was like, I pretty much called it. I was like, he's gonna go after 8.
I went for like 8. I didn't go very far after that.
No. You went. I think you were like 8:03.
We didn't
You
start
asked me
at
to come.
7:05.
Yeah.
We actually nailed it.
So we actually got, but we didn't finish about 18.
Dude, I looked up there and it said 7:50. I was like, you better get on it.
Yeah. So,
Anyhow,
but I think if we bring more energy to it, that you know what we've got is is definitely it's not bad. You know, it's certainly not bad. What we've got is more than a lot of people start out with.
well, and I feel like you're probably starting to get a feel for it. I am not the highly energetic, charismatic, what's he going to do this week kind of guy.
Yeah.
And so I need really, I'm not looking for show,
Right.
but good worship, infused excitement. I
Just
need
energy.
that right.
Yeah. You need that energy.
Right. And not long story short, a lot of it is because my disability is a lot of energy. It's hard for me to kind of hold steady. So
Right.
anyhow, there's a lot of reasons. So it just
Yeah. Absolutely.
that would help make everything.
So I think what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to look at it this week. Okay. There's this this company. I can't remember the name of it. I have to get the name of it again. But it's like worshiptracks.com or something like that. But pretty much it's the stems of pretty much any worship song that's out there, and you can mix in how many what you want. So I can mix in everything, including BGBs. I can mix in everything minus a leap over. Okay. All right. So now that it costs a little money. It's $50 a month, but you get 14 songs a month. Okay. So if we're sticking to the 3-song set right now, then we've got 2 songs left over to pick them up. You know, and then that will give us the ability to establish that and bring energy without having to. It would be cheaper than paying somebody else to come and you know, which I think would just be smart for us to do.
Yeah.
To start on the ground floor.
And I've already put this out there to you guys.
Right. Right. Yeah, you were telling me about that the other day.
It's just a start. I mean, so I already told them all of our efforts, financial efforts as well. I just believe that this church has a future.
Yeah.
So, I think the traditional stuff is good. I just don't think that's really substantial.
The traditional stuff, that revelation was wonderful for that time. But God is not stuck in a season.
But then it just continually bothers me about everything I hear out of everything. It actually makes me sometimes. It all seems to be about suffering through this world.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
It was like the concept of heaven on earth.
yeah, Jesus, when asked him to pray, Jesus didn't say, pray that you go to heaven tonight. He said, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth.
Earth as it is in heaven.
We can experience, yeah, it's not going to be just like it is in heaven. We're not going to deal with it. You have to live life here. You ain't got to live in prison here until you get there. That's one of the major differences that I see. A lot of the traditional stuff seems to be that. Just falling through here until we get there. The bar.
Yeah.
Sister, and that, all that. 4 times on Sunday.
But then nobody's on now. Oh, goodness. If you had a cat at home, that thing would be fantastic.
Let's take the bananas.
I don't know. So I think I'll look into that. I'll send you some info on that first thing Monday, and we'll.
My only hesitation about any of that, honestly, is it's just you. I don't want you to get discouraged by putting a ton of effort in something and then really slowly this.
Yeah.
So just be conscious of that.
Yeah. Well, you don't.
Together with some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't. So in my opinion too, with which I know you like this too, but with lack of effort, I mean, people can sense if you're halfway doing something. So I think if we go into this thing just to the wall, things will change, things will shift, formats will change and shift.
I just saw that confident in this space. You're doing it wrong.
I didn't see it.
I was real quick.
I
Say something for you, Elizabeth.
appreciate that. But I think that's good because we got to do something to get these kids, get these people moving. Which is going to be, we may need to do a worship series starting off, really, just to kind of help them understand if we're going to have to beat people.
No. I got no problem with this kind of speak.
Yeah.
On Saturday. Right now, I'm preaching about 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And I'm preaching on this every single night, and actually running the church on the 6th.
Right.
So I got no problem with it.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. I know how to study excited about something. It would be a real small crowd.
Yeah.
I help them with that. I come in church.
Yeah.
Literally, I'll come in when it's the church. So I can do that. I'll
Let's do a big. Let's try to do a big video campaign for it this week. We'll get in. I think we're good. We just need to level out a little bit on the angle.
I need to take one picture from our show. It may not be too bad. I can pop out all day in space.
Right. Yeah. So we'll just get, we'll get something going on. But it's ground level right now. Ground zero.
I did have, I had several that we said, like, I know, Patrick's parents, they said they were gonna. So they were gonna do that. That's one guy, so, several people, I don't know. There's some interest, it's just getting actually.
Just gotta get them in the door. And I think, we'll start out, we'll just go guns blazing. I think, and I'll see what we can do to get started on that this week. And I'll have a set this for you and stuff. But,
That's, we'll talk about the worship series. I love that.
let's meet up sometime this week at Lavish, or maybe lunch one day.
This week will be very,
Okay.
this week.
Gotcha.
This has to be, this is, just got the whole purpose. We want one ministry actually start. That's ours.
Good.
Well, we've been leaders for it, so like a week ago. So, kind of got dumped into that, and then we pulled the ministry together.
So where do y'all start as a, what's y'all's ministry?
The after school program.
Okay.
And it's cool. I thought it was cool because.
Have you tried to meet with Jen about seeing what they do and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, we've been in constant contact.
Okay.
Because everyone's doing good for us.
Okay. Cool.
In fact, maybe Lisa, they were actually like they.
Okay.
And I couldn't remember her name, and all I could say, it's Foot. But I couldn't remember her name.
It's Lisa. Yeah.
And we are going to do ours a little bit of she's still she's advanced at
Yeah.
we're going to do ours a little bit, maybe more like a setup thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do ours more, we're going to try it like a schedule, like high school. This is going to be this period is lunch period.
Yeah.
This next period, the younger kids will go to tutoring, or the other kids go to what we're calling their electives.
Yeah.
We're going to have 4 different electives that you can sign up for.
That's really cool.
And you're going to, when you sign up, you're going to those electives.
That's good.
It's Tuesday and Thursday is when we're going to start that.
Okay.
And basically, it's going to grow and on our schedule.
Yeah.
If we can be there more, then it'll grow more than that.
Cool. Well, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Let's. I'll tell you what I'll do. We're talking about doing a worship series. You want to do it? I'll go ahead and put some thoughts, some ideas together.
I would say this.
And then when we meet the following week, I'll have something to present to them.
Number one problem I have found with any kind of city, especially with a small church, I'm not sure we showed it up, is getting the series that they sent if you have different language.
Yeah.
And because I'm kind of a series guy, I like to actually do some of the series or something. I've actually had to pull away from that.
Yeah.
I haven't done one in a while now because that's where no language is. So then when they would come,
I'll be like, oh.
I would either have to do so much recap that I really didn't have time to get into anything, or they really didn't get what I got. What I'm
Yeah.
saying. So that could be, that's my biggest, the worst thing yeah, let's do it. I'm nervous about a series.
But if you did it where it was a separate, like for instance, if you did worship, you did 4 different aspects of worship.
Where they they're a series, but it stands alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, now if you do something like that, I think you're going to have a little more success.
Well, I'll tell you what's really burning in my heart right now, especially after seeing it a lot, is, before you get into anything worship, you gotta learn and understand that you're a son and you're a daughter. And there was a room full of spiritual orphans. Okay. I would say 100% of the crowd spiritual orphans. They don't know their name.
And part of it too is, I was talking to the youth pastor that's here. Everybody,
What happened to the other dude that was doing the youth pastor?
he stepped away. He stepped down. I think it's his wife is actually their daughter. They stepped away. Maybe he
Is that Rhonda? Was her name Rhonda? She used to be around there. Yeah, that's his aunt.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think so.
You know what? I think that is.
So the younger, not the pastor's son, but the younger kind of blonde-haired guy that we saw move to their
Yes.
sixties event.
Adam.
Yep.
Adam
He said
Radford.
that, but it was just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So and that guy was telling me, one of the reasons why he wanted to come is he likes us living like this, like this, like this.
Yeah.
So you know, unless I said something that just offended him, and I'm gonna call him later this week. I'm just like I said, I'm gonna call him. You know, that's the big deal. But I think he would have do it. We'll do it. With us. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We gotta keep each other.
Right. Absolutely. I love it.
Anyhow, man, we can be here all night, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Nancy was talking about Megan at a women's conference or something.
Megan was at the women's conference. She's home now. She texted me a little bit ago. But yeah, she went to, it was at Highlands, and she got tickets. Her sister lives in Huntsville.
Yeah.
So she got tickets to the one in Huntsville. And it was good, but it kind of sucked too because it was all satellite.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So
I don't think
so like they had separate worship. So like Darlene Chet led worship at Grant's Mill, but the Highlands team led worship in Huntsville, and then they came on and went satellite when like Lisa Bevere spoke and stuff like that because they were all speaking from the same
that's a very common thing back in Atlanta. A lot of churches do that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I don't like a satellite. He's got a satellite.
Well, Vincent
He
Franklin
does it in
does.
all of his.
There's a church called 12 Song that does it. Andy Stanley does it.
Yeah.
Andy Stanley used to do a really pretty thing. He did a hologram thing when they first kind of started doing some of that.
Yeah, that's cool though.
Instead of a video, it was a hologram of him up on stage. It really actually looked like he was there in the building.
Oh, that's
They
cool.
are real, but they said it freaked her out so much they had to stop and actually did one to it.
That's funny. Yeah, which I'm cool. Like, I'm not a big fan of like the satellite, but I see the need for it.
Yeah,
too.
I get it.
It's like I'm not the biggest fan of it, but like you said, I get it 100%.
I get it. It just wouldn't necessarily be for me. It wouldn't be something.
So, because I know I'm pretty sure I'm 100% sure that Elevation does the same thing.
Yeah, they do.
They oh wow.
Somebody along the way asked me if I'm the pastor, if I'm the senior pastor. And like, usually I joke with them and tell them, no, I got him locked up in one of the rooms down there. But yeah, believe it or not, I'm the senior pastor. This really must not look like a pastor.
Huh? What?
Was my message itself coherent?
Yes.
Because it was. I've rewrote it like 4 times to kind of fit the situation.
Yeah.
So every time you do that, though, you still wonder if it's going to flow right.
Yeah, so no, it makes sense. Yeah, it was.
When I was talking, I watched them as I was talking. They all seemed to be listening.
Yeah. And I heard you get into a conversation with Noah afterwards.
Yeah, it was brief, but it was
But it sounded.
It essentially was along the lines of people don't need religion; they need Jesus, and a lot of people don't understand that religion is not Jesus.
Right. Now, what is Noah? Is Noah like interning there, or is he just a youth?
No, he's a youth worker.
Okay.